So I was a law student for a huge amount of my academic career, and I'm the sister of two scientists who never would have used the words rule of law in any conversation. And I remember in my first days and weeks of being elected, having moved from government to a legislature, thinking, how am I going to explain rule of law to my audience and try to convince them to vote for me again? And I just realized that what had happened is, because we were going through a period of quite calm prosperity, that we started taking things for granted. That you knew you'd always going to have independent journalism until a journalist was blown up in my country. That you thought you would have free academic institutions until science started to be questioned. And so my responsibility and my answer to that was, now I could either just ignore it and think that my voters are always going to turn up on election day, or actually properly say there is a problem with not tackling that subject. So I chose that at my peril. There were some hard elections I needed to run for, where we were facing particularly difficult challenges in my constituency, and that I had to push back. And I said, look, I stand for the complete opposite of what you are saying. Sometimes we would be on a similar panel like this with other candidates standing for completely different things. And my fear is that when I go to schools today, is that the audience would say, there's no way I'm going to go through that hassle. That I'm going to, have an easy job in the private sector and just, let's say, focus on my personal income. And my worry is that less and less, especially women, will choose what is a very, very difficult career. What is however, the upshot of that? The upshot is that you can get, some of the best results when you stand, as I did in Moldova, in front of 100,000 people waving European flags in a country that is not in the European Union, saying that we want to join. When I stood in a few days after Russian tanks rolled into Ukraine in Kyiv, a bustling city that was empty, with a curfew, surrounded, I said, this is worth it. And I want to encourage as many people as possible to see this. Because people who live here look to us to open a door wide open for them. Would have been easier for me not to do that. But I'm convinced that the more inspirational a project and a dream is presented, then everything else, the decision-making, the length of time it sometimes takes, the dreams that you need to pursue become possible. And I'm still completely convinced of that. And it is something because I come from a country that for a long time wanted to join the European Union. It took a long time for us to do that. For the simple reason that we thought and we believe still, that those fundamental things that we took for granted, that I mentioned at the beginning, would be protected. And that for many young people around the world, that is the hope that keeps them going. What I want to make sure is that they continue voting for it. Because if they don't, then those who vote for the complete opposite of what they believe in will win. And if we don't fight that, we will become the minority. And I need to fight every day to do that. Is it hard? Yes. But there are enough people who are willing to do so. At the end of the day, is whether you have the courage and the political will to take a step forward even when it's hard. There are days when you say, have I managed? And I say, maybe not so much. I need to try harder. I have 4 sons, 2 of them vote. And, they ask me these questions every day. And they don't study about rule of law. They study different things. But they are also, I need to make sure that whatever I do makes it possible for them to continue believing as I believed. And my parents did.